Can we move past this? Baby, can we patch it up? We both want it, ay, but do we want it bad enough? It's another late night, feel like I've been here before. I've been on these same highs, but I never fell before. I know that you ain't tryna deceive me, and I mean every word, yeah, you gotta believe it. Still we chasing false and a reason to leave it. I know that we got flaws, but we cannot give in yet. I'm aware we have some problems, but we ain't here to solve them. Not until we hit the bottom, not until we hit rock bottom. Can we move past this? Baby, can we patch it up? We both want it, ay, but do we want it bad enough? On our last legs, but we try to keep it up. We've been fighting.
And welcome to this first live officially for Holistic Hustle HQ. What's up, my fellow hustlers? If you're tuning into this video, it's most likely because you're interested in all things health and wellness in the therapeutic world. Our specialty and our passion that we bring to the space is our ability to be able to coach the small things that matter to systemize and scale the business for therapists to ensure that we can buy back that time, buy back that income, get the options that you want in your life. You see, because a lot of the time what happens, especially for Audrey and myself, and we're going to go into the story, is we get trained in our therapeutic world, whether that's breathwork, facilitation, aromatherapy for Audrey, massage, chiropractic services, traditional Chinese medicine, acupressure, acupuncture, and the list goes on. And then when we have to go out into the real world and run a business, the skills aren't there to be able to systemize and scale. So we thought to open up the space and to keep this conversation flowing. In today's conversation, we're going to go over a bit of a background story with Audrey. I'll bring her onto the screen. Today's sort of topic is going to be the journey to business for Audrey herself, the mess, the struggles, the doubt, the things that girls don't want to talk about, they don't want to tell you. We're going to be opening it up today. So we have a few different mixtures of things that are going to be happening here as we'll be able to share screen, go over some old photos and some previous businesses that Audrey was able to jump into and the experiences that she got from that. But then we'll also be able to sort of throw it over to Audrey for her to tell her individual experience and maybe what was happening during that moment. So I'm going to switch over to a different screen and say hello to Audrey and get her to introduce herself, just have a little bit of fun. If you're joining the live, what's up? Feel free to comment. I'm pretty sure it'll come through on my side, so I'll be able to reply back. But I'm going to throw it over to Audrey and have her to say hello to everybody.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. And like Tuma was saying, if you're jumping on and looking at this and watching us live, you are a friend. You like me. This is a really big milestone, and we'll get into that. There's just so many ups and downs that we've been through to get to this point. So I'm really excited just to be here and going live with you.
So what I really wanted to start off with, Audrey, was maybe just take us through a little bit about who you were before you started aromatherapy. Like, what was your background story? And I'd love to hear, what kept you passionate? What were you interested in before you started to get into essential oils or natural holistic health and wellness? Yeah. What were you up to? Maybe even before you were a mummy. What were you doing at that time?
Well, for most of my life, I've been wrapped up in bubble wrap. So even before venturing into aromatherapy and natural health and wellness, I really was trying to find my way. I was trying all kinds of things. I was testing the waters, doing all sorts of stuff. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity, just dabbling in here and there and everywhere. And there was a moment I was into scrapbooking and photography and events management and all the way through to jewelry design and crafting. And so, I was still finding myself. I was very shy. I was very meek and just not a lot of confidence, right? So a lot of the things that I was doing was really a one-man band,
Right.
doing things for myself and with myself versus in a team. So this has been a big transition moving into or having aromatherapy fall into my world. It's really opened up the world for me. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what was the main thing, I guess, is what I wanted to find out is
Yeah.
what was it that pushed you into aromatherapy and what was in your world, what was in your moment, what was present with you,
Yeah.
what were some of the moments before you started to look at alternative
Yeah.
therapies? What was happening in that time?
Yeah. So, look, I've been searching for something natural and good for the family for several years prior to even finding essential oils. But growing up in rural Western Australia, I was very familiar with nature. I was out in nature, out in dirt, by the beach and all that. So I had a real connection with nature until I left home and went into the city and became a city slicker. I lost touch a little bit, but and I was away from home. So my mum got very ill, and eventually, after struggling for 10 years with illness, she lost the battle. So it was during that time that it really shook me up, and I realized for some innate reason I knew that I had to come back to nature, come back to my roots. And so it was just something that I wanted to go towards. And I looked and looked and looked. And it started with simple transitions like food choices and lifestyle choices and products for the home, going clean. And then the next natural transition was essential oils because it did everything.
Right. I'll stop you right there. While you were doing the research, what were some of the mistakes made? Did you find things that you thought would work that didn't work at the time, that maybe perhaps promoted themselves as natural? Or did you find that I know for in my journey, I did a little bit of kind of the synthetic, the everyday average approach first. And bit by bit, I started to peel away from the chemicals. It wasn't instant for me.
Yeah.
Was that the same for you, or was it instant?
So the transition before oils was slow transition, just moving things out of the house or out of my life and replacing it with natural, more readily available products, even coming down to the dietary choices, because it wasn't until I changed my diet that I realized, oh, wow, my skin's cleared up. What is going on? I've been struggling with skin and dandruff for most of my teenage life and adult life. And then suddenly it all cleared away. So that kind of, the light switched on for me, and going back to nature and then jumping into essential oils was like, okay, I'm going to go to the health food shop or the supermarket. I'm going to buy myself some essential oils. And by then I had my son, and he was like 3 or 4, and he had some rash and skin issues. So I thought, you know what? We know essential oils are great for all kinds of things. I'm going to give it a shot. So I went to the shops. So just a normal shop, health section of the supermarket.
Right.
And I was really disappointed. I was like, oh, this doesn't seem right. It's not working. It's not helping. And I gave up for a couple of years.
Right.
And so I don't know what I was doing in those 2 years, fumbling around blindly, looking for, still in my heart knowing that was the answer. But I was really baffled as to why it wasn't working.
Kind of sounds like the everyday story from most people. Like they kind of, you're just looking for options, and you take advice from the next best credible source, whether that's a blog or a doctor or something else external to us. And something that's been really amazing that I've heard you say over the last couple of maybe years even is that we need to remember to trust our instincts. So coming back to Mother Nature and the chemistry that she has. Continue on with what you had there. What got you to start after few years passed? You started to come back around to essential oils. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's like I didn't give up. I was my radar was on. I was searching. I knew that, just because it didn't work that one time doesn't mean they all don't work. So I just kept looking and asking questions, and different people suggested different sources of essential oils, and with average results. And then one day, lo and behold, someone in my close circle suggested to try these essential oils, this particular bottled oils, and it was instantaneous. Like when you have that experience, that live experience with something, it's an experiential change. It's a transformation that happens, that when you know, you can't unlearn that. And I was like, wow, if that can happen with just this one bottle, well, what about the other 200? So that's when I went on my little journey.
Right. So is that what got you started in studying aromatherapy and essential oils? Is that what got you to really dive into a body of study because you
Yes.
wanted to use it in a practical terms? Or
Yeah.
what was it exactly? It was probably the effects and the benefits,
yes,
right?
it was the curiosity. It was like, what on earth is this? Like, why does no one talk about it? Why does no one share it? Why is not everyone just doing this? It's so simple. It's so potent. It's so effective. And so it was more like a curiosity, like everything else. Once I realized something, I'm like, I need to dig deeper and find out more. And that's when, the rabbit hole, you just keep digging and finding out more and more about it. And I'm still learning till this day, 10 years later.
Right. Yeah. So take me through like how long it takes to study aromatherapy. Like what were the general courses out there? I know in our kind of classroom setting, you talk about there being two different bodies or practices when it comes to the approach of aromatherapy itself. But how long does it take to study at the time? How much work did you put into it? Were you really invested into it? And then what got you to continue on long term in aromatherapy and essential oils?
Yeah. So studying aromatherapy doesn't really take that long. It's like under a year. You can get certified. And there's all different certifications, right? There's also clinical aromatherapy and there's French aromatherapy. So it depends which one you choose and how deep you want to go. It's a continuous learning experience. There's different schools of thought. There's German, there's French, and there's British aromatherapy, and all of them are vastly different in their approach and in their philosophy. So understanding that those exist is really important, because then you won't be so confused when you read about information online, because when you only study one of the schools, then you're going to be adamant that that's the only way and that's the right way. Just like anything, right? When you go to uni to study something, that your paradigm is just within that body of work.
Sure.
So there's a lot that you can learn. I'm going to continue my studies this year, next year, and beyond, because it can be really, it's huge. It's a huge body of work.
Yeah, I think I think the exciting part is that I've been watching you dive into little pockets of aromatherapy. Yeah. Of late, you've been really fascinated about frequency and the vibration. It's a trending topic, it is, for sure. But just to give the other viewers and listeners, how long mainstream aromatherapy, are we talking 12 months?
Yeah, under 12 months. 12 months, it depends how often you study, like if it's full-time or part-time, obviously.
Right.
But they don't cover a lot of topics that I'm now diving into, right? They don't really talk about frequency, vibration, the quantum physics behind energy, how everything is energy, how nature supports our energetic field. So that's a bit like, some people call it a little, not mainstream, but even pseudoscience. Can you believe it? They call energy pseudoscience when it talks. And so
it's like electricity is pseudoscience.
So, and it's not scientifically proven in a lab that it can do certain things. So there's a lot of fallacies and a lot of flaws when it comes to believing in classical science, obviously. So that, as you know, we've been diving into that area together as well, and it's been absolutely fascinating. But it's actually absolutely proven by quantum physics and cymatics and sound therapy. It's not woo-woo, it's not pseudoscience, it's not new age therapy at all.
You're starting to sound like a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, no.
So, all right, so take me through. So basically you're still studying it. It is a lifetime practice of yours because you are interested in it.
Yes.
And some of the mainstream lines of thought, I can see how it can become very repetitive and very... dry. Yeah, so you do want to dive deeper. Okay. Let's go over to the topic of what I want to find out more about is, when did it become a business for you? When did you know? Because I know when you start business in general, you, number one, have to be good at the practice itself. You have to understand your work. Number two, you have to be able to have a certification to give the right recommendations to really understand what's happening with the person that you're speaking to and what oils would fit. At that time,
at that
right?
Time, that was important to me. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you move from it being a side passion of yours that worked on you and your family to now you studied it, now it became a business. What happened there?
That's interesting. I didn't plan for it to become a business, but when now looking back on my journey, I was so passionate about it. It rubbed off on a lot of people, and the results were so evident and so obvious that I couldn't help but share the amazing outcome and what it did for my family and what it did for my friends. So just sharing what you believe in, what you are passionate about, naturally people who want to know will gravitate towards you. People who are going through the same pains and struggles as you will gravitate towards you and want to know. And so I was just openly sharing that with anyone and everyone that would listen, until eventually it just started turning into a business because they wanted to know where I got the oils and how do I use them? Can you have a workshop? Can we have events? And so that's how it sort of, I accidentally fell into the business of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like exactly like this. I was going through some of the photos, just checking out some of your past work, and here you are at putting together a workshop, and this is what you just started to do and connect with other girls, teaching them how to mix and match things and how to blend. Is that how it started?
Yeah, I mean, girls love pretty little things and nice smells, right? It makes us feel good, and that's what the oils do as well on a emotional level. So it was natural only to, wow, if I can make my perfumes or make my skin serum or make my nail strengthening serum or make my deodorant, like the list is never ending. And that's what makes it so much fun, is how vast and how wide and how versatile the oils are, and girls love that.
Right, but you weren't always like this, and what I mean by this is that this is also a learned skill. I know that a lot of people are in aromatherapy or in the essential oils world, and they don't get curious about any of these mixology approaches. I think a lot of the time your kind of curiosity in business has stemmed from multiple previous side hustles and businesses you've sort of run.
Yep.
And here is one classic example. For those of you that are watching live, if you're on YouTube watching or on Facebook, we're looking at an image of Audrey that had a punk rock haircut right now. She was cool back in the day.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. But this was Audrey running her first business. So take us through it as I kind of shuffle through. Was it your first business technically, your first side business?
I had a lot of side hustles. My first proper one.
Right.
So I loved making jewelry, and because that started as a passion, as a hobby, I got really passionate about it. I made some amazing pieces, I must say. I loved them. They're stuff that I would want to wear. And so then people were like, wow, can you make me that? And so it started like that. And so eventually I made a whole line and I launched it back then I don't know when.
So it's really been inside of you, I think, being to the fact that you were raised in Carnarvon, which is Western Australia, small town. It's always been in you to develop community and people.
Yeah, because ever since I was in my diapers, I was doing the rounds around the table and greeting people because my parents had a restaurant.
Right.
So they didn't have time to babysit me, and I was kind of left to my own devices, and I would go around with one hand behind my back and a docket book. Back in the day when you had docket books and pens, taking people's orders. I was a few years old by then. I wasn't really taking their order. I was just scribbling notes, and I would pretend to go to the kitchen and give them my order. And then the customers would complain and say, we didn't get our order. It's been like half an hour, 40 minutes. And they're like, who did you give the order to? Oh, that little girl. And, duh, the order's not going to make it to the kitchen, right? So that's when I started, technically working on, business.
Right.
Yeah.
So it came from your parents, your community, and where you were raised.
Probably so. I suspect so.
Right. That's interesting. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what were some of the lessons that you learned from your jewelry business? Mm-hmm. What did you learn in terms of the struggles?
Yeah.
What skills did you take to your current business? Let's start there and we'll build upon it.
I've always been really good with handicraft, with things, with my hands, to crafting things, to being very precise and very pedantic with the details. And so I think what I took away from helping mum and dad run a business day to day and not making mistakes and making sure the customer's always satisfied, right? That has that type of a business philosophy has really helped me, and to please the customer, make sure they're always getting what they want and making sure they're happy. That to me is really important. And but I can also see that a lot of my habits that were required of me back then, which is doing it right and doing it well and doing it on my own and not having a system, not leaning on technology, has really created burnout for me. And it has also meant I'm not able to show up better for my customers and for my community. So that has been a huge struggle for me because I've been programmed. That's my blueprint for business, right? Running like a headless chicken. But to me, that meant success. To me, that meant I'm busy. I'm successful because I'm busy and run down and burnt out, you know? So then I realized I couldn't do it. It wasn't sustainable. And obviously when we met, you had a whole different philosophy about business and about your approach and being strategic and having systems and automation, which was a completely new world to me. So that has really opened the doors and helped us to jump to the next phase of business, right?
Can you give me an example of something that when you look back at your business, right? Let's say we take a look back to, it was number 23 jewelry. That's what it was called, right? So when we look back at that business model and some of the processes that you were completing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, repetitiously, you being a lot more seasoned now in business and mature in your approach, what would you tell the younger Audrey, and what did you see that just wasn't working, that was taking up so much time, or what could you implement, what could you change, what were the struggles? Give us some highlights there, a glimpse into that number 23 business.
Wow. I think one of the biggest things I've learned of late that has really helped shift my paradigm, my perspective, is really about learning to ask for help. That's where it all starts. Because if you can't even comfortably ask for help when you need it, then how are you going to free up your space and your mental space, right? Because most of us, especially small business owners, we are so in the trenches all the time. And we can't rest. We think we don't even have time to ask for help or learn a new skill. That's how busy we are. But I think what I've learned in the past 2 to 3 years is you really have to take 2 steps backward in order to take massive steps forward later on. And so taking a step backward and unlearning a lot had a lot to do with the growth that we're having, now. That's the main thing. But how do you even become aware, right, that you need help? That's a whole other area to explore.
Right, so asking for help.
Asking for help.
In that business, where would you ask for help?
Back in the other one?
Yeah, in number 23, that jewelry business, where would you ask for help?
Wow. I would have asked my girlfriends for advice when it comes to business because I actually knew many of my girlfriends had businesses. They were running businesses. But for some reason or whatever, I did not ask them how they did it, So I think back then, just not having the maturity or maybe I was afraid to ask. Well, what will they think of me if I ask them? Or maybe they won't even share their business secrets with me. Right? So there's a sense of just also the fear, the self-judgment, but also like sometimes it's to do with pride even. It could be pride and not showing the weakness. So learning to be able to step back and say, hey, I'm human. I'm struggling here. I don't know how to do this. Can I ask you for help? Can you give me some advice? And that's really quite a new thing for me of late.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are a lot of women like that in business or in day-to-day life? Like, I find for guys, men, like we understand maybe team sports and we understand where we need to ask for help, where we need to collaborate and where we don't. Is this a common theme that you're talking about inside of the space of women, and especially female business owners? Do a lot of them not really ask for help?
Let's ask the audience. I don't know. We have to ask the audience.
Is that what you find? Have you found that to be the case?
Yes, based on hindsight and now stepping out of that space and where I am now, I can see a lot of women are struggling quietly. for whatever reason, I don't know why, they don't want to. You know what I think it is? Because I can relate to. Could be because we don't think we deserve better, or we deserve more.
Right.
Well, I should speak for myself.
Yep.
But I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, where, I'm just happy being where I'm at. Don't rock the boat. Don't be bigger than you should be. Don't stand out. So I think that could be something to look into that's in the blind spot.
Sure.
It could be different for everyone. But just looking at other women as well, I see a lot of women struggling independently and not reaching out. Because I'm literally here, a ready source of information, and I'm willing and able to help, but I don't actually get a lot of questions from the women in my community.
Yeah, it is quite curious. Even when I've found that I sit down with women and say to them, a lot of your girlfriends actually, when they need some assistance, I'll say to them, you call me specifically for this thing, not for that thing, and then call me for that thing, but not that thing,
Yeah.
right? And then I don't get any call at all, and all I'm left with is just worrying
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, yeah, it's been quite fascinating. Just trying to think and feel into going into a little bit more of the capacity to feel, the capacity to struggle in business, but also likewise the capacity to have resilience. And that's been a real big topic of conversation for us of late. You've got Alan Beck saying hello, by the way.
Oh, hello, Alan.
So I wanted to ask you, like, what has got you into this now newfound energy? What are some of your new learnings that you're starting to implement into business? Now that we've covered kind of your previous business experience when it comes to the jewelry business that you had and being able to use your hands and collaborate, build relationships and community, now that you're moving into this online sort of business, but also still having workshops and an online presence, what are your newfound skills? What are the recent struggles or pains? What have you learned from that, and what are you implementing that? How are you implementing that in your business or your day-to-day life?
Gosh, Tumai, there's a lot to cover here. You got to remind me of some of the profound distinctions that I've had. But more recently is at the top of mind is resilience itself, right? And we all like to think we're resilient. And I thought I was very resilient because, I can switch up my emotions at a drop of a hat. I can change my state because that's what I learned in self-development. In order to get ahead, you've got to change your state, get out of the sad mode so you can continue on and plow through regardless. Like that's the whole, like women are taught to be tough and to just plow ahead. You're strong, you're a powerful woman. And I think that's really, really can be very misleading and dangerous because I think that's the theme overall for a lot of young women today, or even women my age, my friends my age, thinking you got to stand tall, you got to stand strong, you got to just get through it no matter how hard life is. But then I realized you posed the question to me. I said, I'm resilient. And you go, well, no, resilience is this. Resilience is in being able to sit in your emotions regardless, to be able to be comfortable with confrontation, because I hate confrontation, right? You know that. And I like to keep the peace. I can't handle emotions. I'm so empathic. People that are negative impact me. And so I played into that story. I don't like that. And so when you said actually resilience is being able to sit with your emotions and be okay with it and then get comfortable with the discomfort, that was like, wait, what? That was a new thought idea process there for me.
Right. What options are you left with when, let's say, you're uncomfortable with confrontation, you're only left with kind of a few options? What was your main mode of dealing with things?
Run away.
Pretend
nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
Pretend nothing's wrong. And that's what a lot of girls I find do. They're so diplomatic, politically correct, and this happened, but everything's fine. Everything's fine. We'll pretend everything's fine. We'll still go out for lunch and dinner and have girly catch-ups, but we haven't gotten to the core of the problem. So learning to sit in that discomfort, which you've made me do many times over, has been such a blessing because it has opened up new pathways of creating solutions. Most of the times, as I noticed, and as you noticed, is I would jump to a solution mode. Don't be sad. Don't be angry, Tumai. Let's just do this. And you get so upset with me because I'm jumping to a solution. And what I realized is by doing that, we're not sitting with the actual emotion or problem, and we're misdiagnosing it and coming up with a solution the other person doesn't want. So I think that happens a lot with everybody. And that's something we need to start learning to be okay with, is being uncomfortable.
Yeah, wow. So then if you take that learning process that you've had over the last couple of days to weeks to potentially months, how are you applying that in business? Like, what's some practical example when we hit something that's difficult, perhaps misunderstood, or a big problem to solve? How are you applying that?
Well, guess what? I'm not even scared. No matter how tough or difficult the problem is, I now can say on hindsight that I was overthinking most of the problems that I was confronted with. I was totally overthinking it. I was panicking. I was stressed out for nothing because I hadn't sat with it for a moment. I panicked and tried to think of a solution out. So now I'm like, bring it on. Like, if we have a problem, like that attitude that I bring into business now, if we have a business problem, that's great. Good. Let's sit down and hash this out together, as a team. And again, teamwork is something very new to me as well over the past couple of years, because I thought I knew how to work as a team. But as you pointed out, men are very in tune with that, because especially if you've worked in, you've played team sports. And if you're a woman, if you play team sports, you're great. But I've never played team sports. I did netball in grade 10. But that was a long, long time ago, so I had to brush up.
Back in grade 10, I think that was when you were the tallest player on the team, right?
I was never the tallest, but I was great at wing defense and wing attack, and we did get gold. So just point that out. But again, I was rusty. I'm rusty, and I'm sure team sports has evolved quite a bit since then. So learning to work as a team, asking for help, not being scared to talk things out.
Right.
And taking responsibility is really key, because I realized that for a long time, running away, not liking confrontation, has a real problem to it. It means you're not going to take responsibility for anything. And so if you don't take responsibility, how can you truly grow and learn? Right?
Wow, there's such big lessons.
Big lessons, massive paradigm shifts that happened. I wouldn't say it literally happened like in the last few days, but I'd say it was work in progress for the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, I guess throw it to most people that are watching. If you're watching the replay, if you're watching live, something that Audrey and I discovered, I think the tricky part is that when I work in a corporate world or a corporate context, everyone sort of knows this process already. But if you're coming from, if you've been in a business, a solopreneur for a very long time, such as Audrey, some of these skills they need to be brushed up on. And I intuitively knew this, but what Audrey and I both researched and looked into was just the way to approach and solve problems when you hit them. It's probably more important to have a competent approach to solving problems and being strong at that than being left with the only option of worrying about the problem hitting you and then trying to react to that. So what we've found, if we were to put any key words to it, is like stage one of solving any problem, whether it be in a relationship or in business. Step one was always just listening. And a lot of the time we weren't listening to listen. We were listening to respond, listening to gain an advantage, or listening to not understand, just listening to once you're finished, I can get my response back out there and my opinion, right? But stage one, just listening to whoever's talking. And then the next stage for us was being able to identify what the core problem was. And what often happens in stage one and stage two is the other person says a lot of things. We might be at a boardroom meeting trying to solve some sort of expense issue, or where to invest our marketing dollars in for the next quarter or so. And if we're not listening to the other person and being able to identify where the core area of concern is, then we're unable to really solve it or unable to actively respond, right? We're unable to take responsibility for some parts that I could be doing better at and that the other person could be doing better at. So stage 1, stage 2, we found was really important. And we would often skip or rush over those 2 steps just to solve it. But we end up making the wrong solution because we haven't even done the identification process. So step 1, listen. Step 2, identify. Step 3, we found it to be take responsibility. Step 4 was to construct, create, and collaborate with each other. And a lot of the times you're also looking for a win-win scenario, whether it's in business, but definitely in relationships, that's for sure. We want to both feel like we are better off out the other side. And following that, the last natural step, if ever you even have to do it, it ends up being, make a suggestion on a solution. Now, instead of rushing over everything and going straight to the solution, we've gone through a systematic approach where everyone felt heard. I know for me in particular, when someone comes in and solves this guy and makes a solution, like I'm still trying to just vent my emotion. I'm still at stage 1. Instead of giving me the solution, I'm not going to hear you. So we found this to be like extremely important for us and something that has been a real workable tool when it comes to business overall. What are your thoughts on that, Audrey?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the beginning because it's kind of like when you were talking about this process, this step-by-step process, you know what came up in my mind?
What was that?
You know how people go, what do you call that? Underwater cave diving?
Cave diving, yes. Super dangerous.
So dangerous, but they have a rope that they have to hold on to.
Uh-huh.
It kind of like that image came up in my head, like it's actually a rope to help you stay on track and on focus because things can unravel and blow up really, really quickly otherwise, right? And I think that helped me stay on track, especially after realizing that this is a whole other topic, codependency and being interdependent and versus independent and all those topics, those yummy, juicy topics. And there was degrees of codependency that I was exhibiting that I was unaware of. And a lot of times, especially women my age, we've been through past relationships, past traumas. We are conditioned to respond or react in a certain way, and we don't even know we've been conditioned. So realizing that other element in our conversations where you would say something, do something, and I would react a certain way, and you're like, why are you reacting like that? I was perceiving it through a lens, right, of how I was being conditioned and how I should react in the past for survival, as a survival instinct. And that's been deeply ingrained. So then coming to that realization is not enough. Having the rope helped me stay on course. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, good stuff. And now coming full circle around with what you're creating in Holistic Hustle, the business, the online vibe that you've got at the moment. You've put a lot of work into each one of your classes, the thought process, the description, typing up every little detail, even being able to, I find like when creating courses or classes to begin with, it's just as important to know what you're going to be talking about and equally what not to talk about because it can become a lot of fluff and it can make it, you can get really lost in the detail versus just bringing forward some of the important points.
Yeah.
So what I first wanted to ask you about was, dude, what are you launching on your side? Why are you launching it? Go for it.
We're so excited. Talking about systems and learning about processes and talking about my past experience in business and why it's different now is now I'm leaning on systemization. I'm leaning on automation. I'm leaning on templates and tools that weren't available to me before. And so learning about this has been such a steep learning process, but it's been worth every minute because it helps to simplify, it helps to free up my time, gain back time to spend with my family. And I think that not enough people know about how to leverage on the systems. So we are launching a really cool platform in school where it's going to be jam-packed full of content, templates, tools, blueprints, and a business system, an operating system to help really with the flow so they can finally, not be in the trenches and allow the automation to help you and also the community and the teamwork.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had a previous business which didn't have any systems or any way to scale. What are some of the things that we've got now inside of the HQ, inside of
my
the school
goodness.
system that would have helped you when you were running your jewelry business?
Yep.
Which blueprint, which template?
Well, even just my aromatherapy and essential oils business, the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years have been really a struggle because I got burnout, right? And I think not having, first of all, just even lifestyle changes. The protocols in here are going to be life-changing. It's going to help support you and ground you and be very present, and also being able to help you structure or plan your life wheel, right? That's really important, because if you don't know where you're going, how do you know what to do now, right? You got to know where you're going. But on top of that, just the recordings that we have for the protocols, essential oil protocols, breathwork protocols have been phenomenal. We put that all in there. But the marketing templates are phenomenal. The sales processes. And I think even just, I thought it was going to be hard to learn about the operating system, but I think what I had was just a resistance. Like anything, especially for us, when we've been doing something we're so used to doing, it's really hard to change our mindset around learning a new thing, especially when it comes to technology. A lot of women can relate, I think. But honestly, the time it takes to put in to learn how to use the system is going to be worth it in the long run. It's going to carry you for decades to come. So that's what I'm most excited about, because then having this framework and this foundation, this system, this automation, which all big companies rely on, but we can do it now so easily as a solopreneur, is going to be a game changer, because I can then free up my time, be creative, maybe go back to my jewelry business, for example, or maybe I want to start a merchandise business. It's all going to catch me. It's the same system. So that's what's really exciting. Or I might expand upon the holistic, still stay within the health and wellness industry and expand my repertoire there. Because who wants to do the same thing forever, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to release yourself, free yourself, and to be able to explore and see what you're good at, see what else you're passionate about as well.
I love it. And I want to jump in and take a quick look at it,
let's do
because
that.
I want to look at what you were talking about exactly. So here are some of the separate courses and classes here, but if we scroll on down, each section has its own little click in with a whole lot of information, including the newly added Aroma Freedom technique, which is super cool. We put a lot of effort into that.
Oh my goodness.
But if I go down, what you were talking about was the bespoke marketing suite.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to see what my favorite thing is about it. Like, what section is it?
We put a lot in there, and I can't wait to keep building that one out.
So on the side, we have all these different little tables of contents, but we've got a full strategy template, presentation templates, email sequence templates, SMS sequence templates, lead magnet templates, target audience profiles. That one's probably my favorite, actually. The target audience profiles, yeah. We have blogging templates, social media posts, templates, 100 essential oil posts and blogs. We're working on that one. We're putting it all together because we really just want it to be a plug and play kind of thing. Hey,
just from my experience, just not having the tools available to quickly and easily, put social media posts out there, it's been really difficult.
Yeah, and some of the other things, like all of these templates are what we have been using in our business full time. If not, some of them we're trying to implement shortly. And then some we want to put together for the community, like essential oil portrait photos and landscape photos and images. We have bought a camera just for this, just for the essential oil girls that want to market and have enough.
Tuma's very
essential
particular.
Yeah. So I think my favorite one out of all of this sort of marketing section would be the target audience profiles. When you know how to use that,
Yep.
that is a very, very powerful tool, and it's templated for mostly people that are in the health and wellness space. We have these different profiles of target audience, avatars that you would target, and when you learn how they speak, how they do things, what their greatest fears are, what they dream of, what they secretly hide, all of those little details for marketing in particular. It's very easy then to create the right content, lead magnets, social media posts, blogs, etc., etc. So that's probably
your message becomes more precise. You're resonating with the right person, and grow your community.
one of the things that I wanted you to go over is, and I'll come back to you as the main screen, and I'm just going to call out inside of your Aroma mini series. If I go screen share it here, I've got it here. So we've got the Breath mini series, the Aroma mini series, and the Coach mini series. These ones are going to be really cool free products that we have available inside of school. But for the Aroma one in particular, Audrey, you've got a table of contents. I'll call it out here on my side. So you've got the introduction. I want to ask what got you to pick some of these topics and what topic you're most interested in. So you've got the fundamentals of aromatherapy, the origins, you got plant alchemy and the essence within, you got sense and sensibility, ancient rituals, alchemy and vibration. You've got seasonal alchemy with essential oils, and you've got the future of aromatherapy. Let me click in and see if I can see that one. The future of aromatherapy and research trends. Out of these topics, which one are you most excited about?
That's like choosing my favorite child. Let me see. Oh boy. I think, what's really important is the fundamentals, or rather the pre-fundamentals, which is talking about your instincts, your inner wisdom, laying the ground to make sure you don't make the mistakes that I made. Being in touch with your inner authority and your connection with nature, and having this inner trust, because we are all so deeply and divinely connected with nature on a biological level, and we've forgotten that. And I think that is really important before diving into the rest of the contents, because the rest of the contents are going to misfire if you don't even know going in how to approach that information. Because it's just information at the end of the day. You could go to another course and take a aromatherapy course, and then you have more information. What do you do with that? What's really important is having the trust within yourself to make the right judgment, regardless of the information that's given to you. And also the other part that I'm really excited to dive into is the alchemy part. That's actually really interesting. A little connection that I discovered in my head when it comes to the foundations and philosophy of alchemy and how it connects with essential oils and the bridge, like the historical connection as well. So it's so fascinating. I mean, in a past life, I might have been a history teacher, but I don't know.
Absolutely. The modern term for alchemy is chemistry, right? So you're finding the link between basically chemistry, but all things, all matter, and how it directly links to essential oils as well.
It's fascinating. I mean, it's even beyond chemistry. It's the philosophy as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's really exciting. We've got a few more extra people joining on through.
Oh, cool.
So my last few questions just about the launch that you've got going on here is, tell us what's exciting about what we're launching here and what you're excited about overall.
Oh, boy. I mean, I am just so excited for people to use the tools that we've spent so much time creating, because I know it'll help change their lives. I want nothing more than for busy, stressed out, overworked mothers or women or therapists in particular that really love helping people, because I just love helping people, but we put ourselves out to help people and we don't look after ourselves. And so what I really love is this is going to be able to eventually free you up, for you to find yourself again, and for you to enjoy the reaps, the benefits of your labor, and see that you can sustain this for decades to come to support your family, having the systems and automation and the community and the coaching available to you.
Right. So what's been the biggest challenge for you in particular when growing your wellness practice?
My biggest challenge, a lot of it comes within. It's always feeling like I don't know enough, I'm not good enough, and then just playing small and not sharing the knowledge and things that I've learned with other people, because I've shrunk, and being able to look for myself and find myself and have the courage again and realize, hang on, there's a lot of people out there that need to hear and learn what I have to offer. So the biggest challenge was stepping out again into the limelight. Like this being live, streaming live on camera was, I think, one of the biggest obstacles for me. And I think finally, I think I'm here. Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. I guess I wanted to ask a few more extra questions around what's to come and what to look forward to with your launch. But you mentioned something really important, which was what was holding you back was your mindset and self-worth, your thermostat to business, and almost your ability to call in the abundance that all of us are naturally destined for. What essential oils would you recommend other ladies that are in business, that are dealing with self-worth or mindset obstacles? What essential oils would you recommend for them to use?
I think you need a lot of the, some of the oils, and I won't go into the chemistry, but some of the oils are particularly really stimulating to the pineal gland, really helps with focus and really helps to ground and connect you with who you really are. Some of them could be frankincense or cedarwood. You would use oils that are pure, have a purifying effect. And I mean that on many levels, not just to detox, right? But to also to purify the thoughts and beliefs that we have from our mind. So those ones could be things like rosemary, as simple as rosemary, or peppermint, or some of the citrus oils can be really uplifting. But I go into a lot of detail inside of school. We'll be breaking that down into different areas of life where you can use the oils to help you, whether it be stress or whether it be anger or whether it be frustration. You know, there's just specific oils for that. But a good place to start, frankincense, lavender, maybe a lemon or an orange. But for me, I love peppermint and rosemary, as you do. It just really helps you to stay focused and helps you to maintain or remember information better, so you can confidently move forward and build upon that knowledge, right?
Nice one. Yeah, totally agree. I wanted to ask, what is your personal experience? And just to wrap up a last good vibe question, just about your personal experience when you finally systemize something in your business, like when you built that thing or when you saw one system talk to another system, and you've never built a system before, Audrey, in any of your previous businesses, and then you saw how I did it, and then we applied it to your business. What happened? What shifted for you? What were you excited about? What blew your mind about it? What was your experience overall?
You know, I thought I had systems. Right? We think we have systems. People in our community give us systems, but what I learned was they're just tactics. They're not really systems. And when I finally realized I could create a system from start to finish, I was blown away at the capacity or at the power of what the system can do. And in my mind, it was just, I can't believe I didn't start earlier. I was like, why did I not learn this years ago? I don't know why. That was stupid. Would have saved me a lot of pain. So I think just spending a little bit of time every day learning this, and there's so many, I mean, particularly in school, we'll be actually teaching and coaching how to use particular systems and templates, right? But just for us, even for us to learn and pick up, I mean, the internet's full of those resources. It's just the willingness to learn a new skill is really hard for most people. They think they can't do it. They think it's too hard. They think that it's beyond their scope, but it really isn't. Everyone is always one skill away from being phenomenal, right? From being better. So that's what I learned is from you. You're only one skill away. Literally from changing your life or from doing something different or from achieving something. So that's how I like to look at it.
Yeah, nice one. All right. So for everybody that's listening, hopefully you've enjoyed that first podcast with Audrey.
Yay.
It's really exciting news. Something that I'm going to do just to tie over today's session. If you're interested in joining our school that we have here, our classes and everything that's set up for you, go ahead and visit the link that I will be putting inside of the comments section down below. Inside of the classroom, we have both breathwork protocols to aromatherapy essential oil classes and protocols. We're going to be expanding the lessons 1 to 12, on all things to do with the fundamentals of business in the health and wellness holistic space. Thanks for joining so much, Dom. I really appreciate you. The school system is the number one community that helps therapists build a powerful business, because scaling should be almost as easy as breathing. That's what we believe. So go ahead and join there. I will also be putting inside of the comment section a place for you to get your scorecard. So if you're wanting to scale, if you're wanting to systemize, you first need to know where you're starting from. So step 1, complete the scoring system. Step 2, we will email you a report giving you a rating. And step 3, you get to access free blueprints and start systemizing. Take the test today on our website, and I'll put the link on the actual page or to the testing and scorecard form itself. And I look forward to connecting with you inside of school. Both Audrey and I will most likely have lessons there. Thank you so much for joining. That's bye from me and bye from
Audrey.
Bye now, everybody. See you.
Can we move past this? Baby, can we patch it up? We both want it. Ay, do we want it bad enough? It's another late night. Feel like I've been here before. I've been on these same highs, but I never fell before. I know that you ain't trying to deceive me, and I mean every word, yeah, you gotta believe it. Still we chasing false and a reason to leave it. I know that we got flaws, but we cannot give in yet. I'm aware we have some problems.